Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
One more day without the lovely Rachel V. Hill, and then she will be back tomorrow, Tuesday. It is Monday morning. He is D-Mac. I am Will Peterson. What's up, D-Mac? How we doing today, dude?
Well, you got a dog mug?
Yeah, it's my dog, Zoe.
That's those are my cats, Ross and Rachel. Did you know that I actually have a cat named Rachel?
I did. Yeah, after the Friends characters, correct?
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Friends character. Right.
Well, because do you also have a cat named Ross?
I do have a cat named Ross. Yes, I do. And it would be creepy if I was naming my cats or cat after Rachel.
Yeah, after your coworker would be a little bit.
Yeah, that would be super creepy.
So are you and your wife like super fans of Friends?
Not, well, sort of. But my older son named our first cat, not our first cat, but the cat that he was familiar with. And he was into Pokemon. So he named the cat Glam Yow. But we called the cat Glam for short. And Glam had a wonderful life. And when we moved on to our next cats, our second son was still in the house. Our older son was in college. And he had started watching Friends. So he named the cats Ross and Rachel. So my wife and I, while fans of Friends, had nothing to do with the naming of our cats. So that is the fascinating Ross and Rachel cat naming story from the McKee household.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
We got caught up on that because we've got some preseason football to talk about, my friend.
Yeah, what'd you think of that game?
Well, that's what we're going to get to. Of course, the Broncos lose 18-17 to open up the preseason. They go up 17-10. Somehow Arizona goes 75 yards, gets a 2-point conversion in the last 2 seconds. But, D-Mac, that was not the story of the night. The story of the night was the starters getting sent out there for a fourth series. Russell Wilson finding Jerry Jeudy for a touchdown after a bad drop by Jerry Jeudy. So I will tell you what I thought, but I'm going to flip it back on you, my friend. How critical was it? You and I debated this all last week. How critical was it they found the end zone, but how disappointing was it that it took 4 series?
Well, really critical, as it turns out, because that's the exact reason Sean Payton said he put them back out there. I mean, I definitely had a tweet that was misinterpreted. After 3 series and going into the second quarter, I just said, I guess Russ is done. I didn't mean he was like done for his life, for his career. I literally just meant, I guess he's done for the night.
Right.
I should have put for the night on there and it wouldn't have been misinterpreted. So I thought he was done for the night, and that would have been quite a bummer if that was it. So yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. I call it the punishment series. And when I went back and watched it on, I have the NFL Pass, it was the Arizona coverage, not the Colorado coverage, not the 9 News coverage. And they were quick to point out, Will, Russell Wilson was going against the 2s and some of the 3s out there. So, yeah, okay, cool. All right. But, it just wasn't, great. And I'm not saying it was all Russell Wilson's fault. How about the stat that came out today or yesterday, whenever it came out, that the highest percentage of pressure on the rush, number 1 was like Russell Wilson, and number 4 was like Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
So this offensive line, who was going against 2s and 3s at significant junctures, was not holding up their end of the bargain. So I really have a hard time castigating or blaming Russ for much of it at all. When I went back and watched all of Russ's throws, there were 13 in total. 2 were just a couple of easy ones, just whatever. I don't give you any credit for that. 1 was like a drop to Jeudy. I will give you credit for that. So of 11 possible quality passing attempts, he was successful in 5 of them, because I'm including that pass to Jeudy. So quality passing attempts, Will, I had in my book 5 for 11. Because again, a couple of the passes were so easy. It's just, whatever. It doesn't count against you. It doesn't count for you. It's just kind of nothing. But 5 for 11 on quality passing attempts. I mean, that's solid, not spectacular. And it was okay. Like I'm not that frustrated with Russell Wilson, but you got problems with your offensive line and you got problems in the kicking department.
Yeah, it's funny you say it was okay because I feel like people want to hot take this Russell Wilson first game. And I had the same exact gut you did. I was like, it was fine, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here today and say, oh my gosh, he's done. He's never going to be able to play again. We're getting the number 1 pick. Caleb Williams, welcome to Denver. But D-Mac, I'm also not going to sit here and say, oh, well, they're going to the playoffs. They're going to the Super Bowl. Russ is back. Sean Payton fixed him. It was just okay. And that worries me. And we'll get to the kicking game because I want to. But that worries me, D-Mac, because what I saw on Friday night was like a 6-11, 7-10 football team. Like, this purgatory we're in, it ain't ending anytime soon.
I'll tell you this. You didn't see, oh my God, Sean Payton, what a difference. That being said, I think it was good for them to get out there and iron out the kinks, whatever communication issues they may have had. They, still had, they had like 5 or 6 penalties. First drive was terrible. It was a bad pass to Troutman. It was a bad, could he have caught it? Sure, he could have caught it.
No, it was a bad pass.
But it was a bad pass. And then also we featured the infamous Russell Wilson deflected pass at the line. And, it was 3 and out, Will. And you're like, yeah. The one thing I thought they were going to do is just move the ball relatively easily. And they did have a play designed. That Troutman throw was nothing. I mean, that was an easy, let's get the offense going sort of pass. There's no risk to that. It's an easy play. That's bad on Russ. That's a 0. That because even though Troutman could have caught it, come on, man, you gotta put that on the numbers and be more accurate with that. And then the batted pass is, that's a combo meal, offensive line and Russ not seeing it. But, for whatever it's worth, they went into 0 coverage and hit Russ hard on an incomplete pass on a play that Cortland Sutton gave up on. And I saw a film breakdown by JT O'Sullivan. I think that's his name, JT O'Sullivan. And it was really cool. Like, he went through like all of the routes, and on that play in particular, he really showed that Cortland Sutton, for whatever reason, stopped running and that the throw really wasn't that bad. Russ had to guess where it was going to go, but Sutton stopped. Had Sutton worked harder and gotten to the inside, that pass may have been right on target for a touchdown. It looked terrible because when you go back and look at it, there's an open receiver, I believe Dulcich underneath, that looks really easy to hit. But it wasn't really that crazy of a throw. And it was really cool to see JT O'Sullivan's breakdown of that to explain it. Because, when you're watching the TV broadcast, it just looks like, yikes, what's he thinking?
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I'll have to go back and find that for myself because obviously effort is nothing any of us want to have to talk about. But if there was an effort play by Sutton that stood out, that's certainly concerning. You did mention the kicking game, though, so let's talk about that.
Sure.
I mean, a kicking game was a disaster, D-Mac. Brett Maher, I think he lost any confidence he used to have in that playoff game. It carried over. He misses the first one. He gets the one blocked. Elliott Fry does make one, but he misses another one. I'm pretty sure the kicker's not on the roster.
I mean, I feel bad for Maher. He obviously has a lot of talent. We see him making all sorts of kicks in training camp, and he's got a very, very strong leg, stronger leg than Fry. But the mental side of sports it's not to be discounted. And I just do not know how you would reasonably go into the season knowing that this guy has issues in that department. I mean, the first kick he missed was 47 yards. I mean, come on, man. I mean, there's got to be nothing to that. And again, I have seen him hit that kick 100 times in training camp. So
I've seen him hit it and almost hurt the cameraman, all the way up the tower. He's made 47 where it looks like it could have gone in from 75. It's not what's the result? He's stressed out on the next one, and he drives the ball rather than get it up in the air.
And, it gets deflected at the line because he's, that's on him, man. There's nothing wrong with the snap, nothing wrong with the hold. The kick was too low. You got to get that ball up in the air. And I don't know, man. Fry, made a 55-yarder, which is cool. And then he missed a relatively easy one. So I don't know, Will. I would go with Fry over Maher, but these aren't like great choices here.
Well, what do you think about the Mason Crosby thing? I mean, he's still out there. The Robbie Gould thing. I mean, those are household names. And the only reason they're household names is because fantasy football has exploded over the last 20 years, and everyone's had to put a kicker on their roster. But we all know, and I guarantee everyone watching this knows, Mason Crosby and Robbie Gould. They've done it for a long, long time. I think, what's it hurt to bring them in, right? I think Mason may live here. He's a CU guy, went to Boulder.
Sure, I don't know. I mean, they brought in Shelby Harris for a cup of coffee because he lives close to Grandview. So if I don't know if Mason lives somewhere in the burbs of Broomfield, if he wants to come in, Lafayette, somewhere near Boulder. That's where I'm going. Erie, I don't know, Eaton. So actually, anyway. Sure, I don't know. Listen, you had the answer. You had Brandon McManus, and you didn't like him because because he's got a strong opinion on things, I guess. It's hard to understand exactly what they didn't like about Brandon McManus, other than, I think he was going to be due like $3 million, but who cares? He was 10 for 10, Will, in kicks from 40 to 49 yards last year. 10 for 10. He was weaker when you go 50 plus, but 50 plus is a weird stat because you don't measure beyond 55. I think, and I don't know what they were. I have to go through and look at it. But to me, 50 to 55 is pretty reasonable. Anything beyond 55, Will, is like, I don't know, a coin toss at best. So what are we doing? We're judging Brandon McManus solely and purely on 55-plus yard kicks? I don't know. Got me.
Yeah, I think they were judging Brandon McManus on his strong personality.
Okay.
I think they were ready to move on from the lone remaining guy from Super Bowl 50 who felt like he could wear a ref outfit to camp, was in the players union meetings as the rep of the Broncos, and a guy that let's just say he was a big fan. Brandon McManus, a big fan of Brandon McManus. Let's put it that way.
Okay, well, like we've said a million times. Okay, Sean, it's your ship to sail. So if you know better, and I guess he knew better.
Well, but I want to be clear here. I think they're going to regret cutting Brandon McManus. Is that what you're saying too?
It looks like you gave up a real reliable, dependable guy for, I don't know. I guess you gave up on him because you just didn't like him. Because if you gave up on him because of kicking and you thought these guys were better as kickers, I mean, that sounds crazy right now. Yes. I mean, what proof do you have of that? So I don't get it, aside from he just didn't fit into whatever dynamic you wanted to create. But listen, it's been a lousy culture, Will. They needed a reset, and I give Sean Payton the grace and the, nod to do whatever he wants to do. But that's a weird one to take a risk on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of everything to like reset the culture and, we've got to have different things going on here and, all of that. Really? The kicker? I mean, how impactful or influential is Brandon McManus? But listen, I know Brandon. I've known Brandon for a long time. Okay, he's got some confidence, but I don't know if he's that big of a distraction in the locker room. So I don't know. He's got a strong personality for a kicker, but dude, he got snatched up by the Jags in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I bet there would have been a dozen teams after the Jags that would have signed Brandon McManus.
Yeah, he'll be kicking in the playoffs this year, that's for sure, because that division stinks outside of Jacksonville. They will certainly win the AFC South, and he'll be back in the playoffs for the first time since Super Bowl 50. So good for him. Let's talk about the defense, though, D-Mac. I mean, they go into halftime scoreless. They hold the Cardinals to a goose egg. Essang Bassey has the interception. Pat Surtain doesn't play. Justin Simmons doesn't play. Frank Clark doesn't play. Yada, yada, yada. Your thoughts on the defense as a whole, the guys who sat out. Let's dive into that side of the ball.
Well, I mean, it's probably, they missed a field goal too, Matt Prater. and then he hit one. And, hey, man, good for Matt. Matt's in the league 17 years, and, he did miss one, but he got another one. And so the score at halftime probably should have been 13-3. Okay. So, okay, cool. You limited your opponent to 3 reasonable scoring points, 1 scoring chance in the first half. Hey, Will, that's really great. And you got a turnover. You got decent pressure. I think the defense was fine. The last drive of the game, I don't know, Will. That's such a wild crapshoot. Apparently, Gannon said they let the Broncos score, and that brings up a really fascinating question. Would you, and maybe it's just for wacky reasons because he just wanted to see his offense have a true 2-minute drive with 2 timeouts. Maybe that meant more to them than, whether or not, they're going to kneel on the ball. So I do know this. Sean Payton talked about it after the end of the game. He could have taken a knee twice. The Cardinals would have called 2 timeouts. You take another knee, the clock goes down to about 50 seconds, and then you kick the field goal. So you would give your opponent down a field goal with 50 seconds to go and no timeouts. Let me ask you this. If Sean Payton is practicing the little things and you want to win the game or you want to practice winning game situations, are you better off practicing your defense, stopping a team in a 2-minute drive, and they have 2 timeouts, or a 3-point lead, 50 seconds, and they have no timeouts? Like, what scenario is better for your team to work on?
Yeah, I mean, with hindsight being 2020, I would have liked to see the field goal scenario. I think less time and less timeouts. I mean, sure, could Matt Prater bomb one from you on 55, but it felt like that drive took an eternity. You got 1:45 and 2 timeouts. That's gobs of time in the NFL, and it burned them. I mean, Arizona went down and won the game, got the 2-point conversion, won the game. Yeah, it's a little Monday morning quarterback, but I think I would have rather seen the latter. How about you?
I would have rather seen the touchdown, but I respect what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is I think this is a very fair, debatable sort of point. But I always lean towards having a lead and then playing football, like the biggest lead you can, and have the ability to just stop an opponent. I think that to me is being more aggressive and trusting in your team. And it gave you a window into Sean Payton's mind too, also, because, he was really thinking about that end of game situation. And so I think he's probably going over and over in his mind, what do I do here? What do I do there? But I like the fact that at least it's kind of thought out. You know what I mean, Will? Like, yes. There's reasonable.
There's a method to it. Yes.
Yes. It just wasn't like, oh, I don't know what's going on, and that, he was aware of the situation. He made a seasoned decision. I wasn't against Jaleel McLaughlin getting a touchdown, and I'm not really going to, bang the defense for that too. All the points that the Cardinals scored, Will, were in the second half, so I'm encouraged by the defense for what they needed to do. I thought it was good. Plus they forced a turnover. Granted, a receiver fell down, but whatever. It's nice to see Bassey get that interception. So cool, man. I thought it was good. I thought it was, listen, I don't think it's wrong to say, hey, it was okay. There's a lot of people, I think, freaking out about things today. If you're concerned about anything, you know what? I'm not that concerned about Russ. I mean, he basically did what we thought he could do. He showed some elusiveness. He's in better shape. He put the ball on the numbers down the middle of the field a couple of different times. One for a touchdown, another long pass to Jeudy, and another long pass to Courtland Sutton. I thought he was all right, man. I thought it was fine. Not spectacular, but fine. I thought the defense was good too. So I walk away relatively encouraged by the game, Will.
Yeah, we'll talk about McLaughlin too in a minute. I want to get to him before the show ends, but let's talk about Surtain and Clark. I mean, we know Sean Payton doesn't discuss injuries, but DMAC, he told us Clark was playing on Wednesday, and then he doesn't play on Friday. Where's your concern-o-meter on that? Because to me, if you're going to play the starters, you're going to play Randy Gregory, then why aren't Clark and Surtain healthy enough to play, or do they get special treatment getting sat out? I'm just going to say I got my antenna up on that a little bit. They've got a media-only practice today, but We've already suffered 2 bad injuries. It has me a little curious.
Clark is a quirky dude. So from James Palmer at NFL Network, from James, he said that Clark's got some sort of intestinal issue that flares up every now and then that gives him problems, okay? There was a weird moment in camp a few days ago where Clark was late to come out and then was in an animated conversation with coaches before settling into the practice. I think he's got a big personality, which we've seen, which could be a good thing, or perhaps it could be a bad thing. I think Frank Clark, my concernometer with Frank Clark, Will, is pretty high. There's been quite a few, eyebrow-raising sort of moments already with Frank Clark. So I've got a high eyebrow with Frank Clark, and my antenna's up. Surtain, I don't know. I guess I was a little surprised. He's not been out. He's not been hurt. Maybe they're just being overly cautious with Pat Surtain because they just know what he can do. And I'm not opposed to that either. I don't think it's a big deal. I think he's ready to go for what he needs to do. So perhaps that was just some caution and getting reps to other corners just to see what's up. So my concernometer with Surtain is 0. Clark is out of 10. Got a good solid 7.5 to 8 about Clark.
All right, let's do hot or not, because I want to talk about Jaleel McLaughlin being hot. I can't believe it took midway through the fourth quarter for him to get into the football game, D-Mac. But that last drive was the McLaughlin drive, and then he caps it off with the touchdown. I'm telling you, we saw plenty of Tyler Beatty. We saw plenty of Tony Jones. Jaleel McLaughlin is the third best running back. He needs to make the team, and they will regret it if they don't, because he'll end up on someone else's 53.
We have seen the offensive line had issues during camp. We've seen Jaleel McLaughlin be a star during camp, and we've seen Ben DiNucci be better than Jarrett Stidham during camp. All of those, and we've seen Jerry Jeudy drop easy passes to come back almost immediately with a great catch. Okay, we've seen all of these things during camp. So I thought the game was very reflective of both the good and negative things that we've seen during camp. I don't know what else to say about McLaughlin other than he should make the team and he should play. He's a dynamic player who makes dynamic plays. Did you see Deuce? Cowboys. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting his last name.
The Kansas State kid?
Yes. Is
it Deuce Staley?
I don't think that's it, but Deuce. Deuce was great for the Cowboys. And McLaughlin sort of reminds me of just everybody's a slightly taller than Deuce. The guy's 5'4". But that sort of water bug, fast, explosive, dynamic sort of player. I don't know why he was so far down on the depth chart or it took so long for him to get in the game, but I certainly hope that we see him get some action in the first half, against the Niners come this weekend. And in terms of not, do we want to go with not?
I was going to say, I did the hot, you do the not, man. Who's your not from game one?
Well, Jarrett Stidham. What was that? Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was exactly what we've seen during training camp too. It's just, I don't know, man. Yeah, I just don't think – I think that you can't do two things at the same time with this offense. And this offense is being suited for Russell Wilson, not Jarrett Stidham. But, Ben DiNucci, Will, is just a better quarterback than Jarrett Stidham. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, they gave Stidham all that money, so he's going to be the number 2, which I tweeted on Friday night. Hey, he's going to be the number 2. That doesn't mean he should be the number 2, right? A difference there.
Well, will they keep 53 players, including 3 quarterbacks, on the roster? Is DiNucci at risk to being signed as a backup some other place? And I do think there's 5 or 6 teams that he would be the best option at backup quarterback. I watched all the preseason games, and the Broncos just signed a wide receiver. JJ Koski something or other. Maybe we can look that up. Broncos literally just signed a wide receiver, so I don't know anything about him. Breaking news here on the good old
but that's not Jarvis Landry, D-Mac. That's not Julio Jones. If you don't know the cat, it's not going to be that big a deal.
That is true. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I should know him. Maybe he's a superstar.
No, this is a non-story. He played 5 games for the Rams in 2021 as an undrafted free agent.
Okay. Well, there you go. So that's the big move so far today. So,
let's get out.
Somebody's getting cut or somebody got hurt. If they signed a new guy today, somebody's gone.
Somebody's gone. Let's get into the Russell-meter, though. We started the show on Russ. We're going to close the show on Russ. We got two options, D-Mac. Which one are you going with?
Well, he certainly wasn't bad, so I'll go great. The Russ-meter was, we got two options. Hit it, great. He wasn't really great. He was solid, though. He was solid. He didn't make dumb mistakes. He got hit hard twice. And the pressures, when you saw that stat about pressures, that was disheartening.
Yes.
Because if you're just exposed to a constant amount of pressure, game after game after game, you're going to see ghosts. You're going to make mistakes. So it's disappointing, Will. And it's a major, it's the kicking problem is definitely an issue everybody's going to sink their teeth into. The biggest issue is likely the offensive line. Because it was everybody was out there, Will, except for McGlinchey. But look at the problems, for example, Ben Powers and Garrett Bowles had at various points during the game. I mean, those are your two core high-paid starters at left tackle and left guard, and they were having issues against Arizona.
By the way, the Broncos cut Ray Wilborn, a linebacker. Salute to you, Ray Wilborn, but I don't know who Ray Wilborn is. So he's the one who gets cut for J.J. Koski this morning, D-Mac.
We'll see him and welcome him with open arms at the alumni golf tournament.
All right, sounds good. For D-Mac, for Matt, I'm Will. He'll be at practice today. Have a great Monday, everyone. Thanks for watching Coffee Break.